At the headquarters of the Air Defense Command, the watchguard of the United States security against enemy attack, a strange radio message has been intercepted. Unable to decipher the highly sophisticated code, experts have forwarded the message to the Office of Scientific Intelligence in Washington.
Steve, I'm glad you could make it.
No problem, Oscar. I'm staying in town for the holidays.
Steve, the Air Defense Command in Colorado Springs picked up an unusual radio message the other day on a restricted frequency.
No identification codes?
That's part of the problem. All messages received over the defense network are preceded by an identification code, and they are followed by a second ident code before signing off.
And this communication has no code on either side.
They can't even decode the message.
What are we going to do?
It defies analysis, Steve. As a matter of fact, nothing on record as language or numeric code is anything like it. I've called in Dr. Landis.
Ethel Landis?
She's the top expert in the field of coded communication.
And she has a lot of kooky ideas, Oscar.
I know, Steve, but we can't afford to overlook any possibilities.
Dr. Landis is here, Mr. Goldman.
Thank you. Please send her right in. She's here, Steve.
Hello, Oscar. It's been a long time. And Colonel Steve Austin. What a pleasant surprise. You're really calling out the troops, Oscar?
Yes, well, have you gone over the information I sent you?
Yes.
And have you reached any conclusions?
Yes, I have, but...
Well, don't keep us in suspense, Dr. Landis.
Please, Steve, call me Ethel. Oscar, this may seem far-fetched, but my observations are based on carefully computed data.
Well?
Do you know what a supernova is?
Exploding star.
That's correct, Steve. In this case, we are talking about the sun of a solar system similar to ours.
I don't see...
It's really very simple. Approximately 2,000 years ago, a large star appeared in the sky over the Middle East. Many scientists believe it was a supernova.
What does this have to do with the radio messages?
You won't believe this.
Try me.
Okay. I believe the messages are the final words to come from that solar system before their sun exploded.
If that's true...
Millions of people believe that was the guiding light to Bethlehem.
It was. And that is why it is imperative to decipher the message.
You haven't done that?
I can't. The radioactivity in our atmosphere is cutting down the reception. The only way to get the entire communique is to send someone up into space above the radiation belt.
Looks like I've been elected.
2 days later at Cape Canaveral, Colonel Austin and Dr. Landis are in the forward stage of a Titan rocket awaiting takeoff.
I didn't realize you were going to join me, Doctor.
Someone who is familiar with intergalactic communications had to go.
Do you really think that this may be some sort of Christmas greeting?
It's the only thing that makes sense.
15 seconds, Steve.
All systems show green for go. Fuel positive, safety breakers on, escape mode is armed.
10, 9, 8, ignition. Main stage. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Ignition. We have ignition. We have
Houston, this is Voyager 1. We're 20 minutes into flight. We're climbing to predestined orbit for receipt of communication.
You are cleared from orbit, climb, Voyager. Adjust speed to 1200 knots. Roll to 45 degrees left.
Roger, Houston. Rolling to 45 degrees port. Speed to 1200.
I'm starting to receive the message, Steve.
I'll turn on the recorders.
Steve, we show a trouble light down here.
My panel is clear, Oscar.
Everything seems fine.
Check your guidance system. Left end gyros.
Still negative, Oscar.
We show trouble indicators.
Voyager 1, come in. Please, Steve, come in.
Houston, this is Voyager 1. We show trouble status on forward guidance system. Vessel is out of control. We've been struck by space debris. Outer hull is shattered. I can't hold course.
Voyager 1, this is Houston. Do you read? I repeat, Voyager 1, this is Houston. Do you copy? Steve, Dr. Landis, please answer.
Houston, this is Voyager 1. Do you read? Oscar, come in, please. Come in.
It's no use, Steve. The radio's dead. What happens now?
We drift
For how long?
until the end.
There's nothing to be done, even with your bionics?
I'm afraid we're helpless.
I thought the radio was dead.
It is. I don't know what we're receiving.
It's coming directly through. It must be the alien message.
Then you must be right. It did originate out here.
Let's see if the recording equipment is still working. It still works.
Let's get it all.
The entire cycle takes about 25 minutes.
At least we got what we came for. Now if we could only get home.
I have the entire message recorded, Steve. I wish I could get back to my lab to decode it.
Ethel, do you think the gyros blew out because of a power overload when we were struck?
That would seem to be the only likely explanation.
Which means that a boost of high voltage energy into the power system should start the emergency power.
It might, Colonel. What are you suggesting?
My bionic power source linked to the ship's system might give us enough power to ignite the guidance relays and resume radio contact. Then they could bring us down from the ground.
But what will that do to you, Colonel?
That's a chance I'll have to take.
Colonel Austin. Steve, are you all right? Steve, answer me.
Voyager 1, do you read? I repeat, Voyager 1, come in.
This is Voyager 1. Colonel Austin is seriously injured. Please bring us home.
With radio communication reestablished, ground control brings the Voyager 1 safely back to Earth. Steve Austin is sent to the special OSI facility for vital treatment on his bionic system.
Hey, buddy. Merry Christmas, and welcome back to Earth.
It's good to be back.
That was a smart idea, plugging yourself into the ship's electrical system.
It was a miracle.
That's not the only miracle, Steve.
What did you find, Ethel?
It's very exciting. I've decoded the message.
What does it say?
First, let me say that I think it is from a solar system that no longer exists. It might have been a warning sent out by the inhabitants of the system when they realized their sun was going to explode.
You mean the supernova?
That's right, Oscar.
What was the message?
As close as I can interpret, it says, prepare for a new day.
That's all?
Yes, but what is really ironic is that the message is just reaching us now.
What do you mean?
My original theory was right. The supernova occurred exactly 2011 years ago, on the first Christmas Eve.
Who is talking about miracles?
Look at the skin, baby. She is glowing. She is one of one.
Olay Hyaluronic Body Wash has 10 times more vitamin B3 complex for visibly nourished skin.
My skin is so much more moisturized.
Olay Body Wash and Lotion. Discover yours.
I see you somewhere in dreamland, somewhere in dreamland tonight. Here's one. There's another. Aha! You gotta pull hard now. Where are they? I wonder where those children went. Poor little children. I know where they live. Let's go there. Hungry.
Hello, children.
Give me a kiss. Me too.
Supper's ready.
Daisy. I'm gonna joke. I'm still hungry, Mom. That's all right. I was only fooling.
Good night.
I'll see you somewhere in dreamland, somewhere in dreamland tonight. Over a bridge made of moonbeams, we'll find the clouds are silver light. Each little star is a castle, shining a welcome so bright. Dreams will come true for me and you, somewhere in dreamland tonight.
I'll see you somewhere in dreamland tonight. Over a bridge made of moonbeams, the clouds will find our silver light. Each little star is a castle, shining a welcome so bright. Dreams will come true for me and you.
You know what you don't see in psoriasis commercials? The thousands of real people who go undiagnosed. People whose psoriasis can look very different depending on their skin tone. As the makers of Tremfya, we understand that everybody's moderate to severe plaque psoriasis doesn't look the same. So we undertook a first-of-its-kind study of plaque psoriasis in every skin tone. Like hers, and his, and yours.
Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine.
Ask your dermatologist about Tremfya.
First, they're sour. And then they're sweet. Sour Patch Kids.
Somewhere in dreamland tonight.
I'll see you somewhere in dreamland, somewhere in dreamland tonight. Dreams will come true for me and you, somewhere in dreamland tonight.
Ice cream cones, chocolate and vanilla. Honey banana, I like strawberry. I like chocolate. That's for you,
I see you somewhere in dreamland, somewhere in dreamland tonight. Woman of this fate of moonbeam, we'll find the clouds of silver light. Each little star is a shining over the so bright. Dreams will come true for me.
Time to get up. Get up, children. Huh?
All for you, yes.
For that?
For you, yes.
In the streets we dance away, through the night never let it fade. Our love never died, running wild it's a never-ending dream.
Hey, this Christmas party is getting a little too quiet. I think it's time we liven it up with my favorite Christmas gift, Mr. Microphone.
Hey, what's that?
Well, you set the dial on your FM radio and testing.
I'm on the radio! These kids are having a fabulous time with Mr. Microphone, the cordless microphone that actually puts your voice on the radio. There are no attaching wires, so you're free to move around. Broadcast over any FM car radio.
Hey, good looking. We'll be back to pick you up later.
Professional entertainers use Mr. Microphone for rehearsing.
I got one.
I got one. I got a Mr. Microphone and I love it.
It's practical and great fun for the whole family. And it's only $14.88. Mr. Microphone, buy 2 or 3, they really make great Christmas gifts.
This is the rugged G.I. Joe adventure team.
Oh my God, I gotta have it. We all know that itch. When you see that new toy that you just have to have. Whether you saw an ad for it on TV or played with it at a friend's house. I mean, how did Justin get this? And of course, there was the ever so exciting JCPenney or Sears wish list catalog. I mean, honestly, my siblings and I spent hours flipping through that ultimate toy wonderland, drooling page after page, circling way too much stuff that Santa was never gonna bring. I mean, maybe a knockoff version or two, but hey, Santa tried. But sometimes we conveyed the importance enough. and everything fell into place for us to score that perfect toy. The new thing that we're convinced will be the most fun toy we've ever played with in our whole lives. The one at the top of the list. I'm Nostalgic Nick with Do You Remember? And today we're looking at the most sought after toys from the decade with some of the best, the 1970s. If you don't mind, smash that thumbs up icon for us and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And a disclaimer before we start, there will be no pet rock on this list. No kid had to have a pet rock. Everyone in America just collectively lost their minds for 6 months. So let's get to the goods, the toys. Evel Knievel Stunt Cycle.
My name is Evel Knievel. I'm a professional daredevil.
Now, Evel Knievel dominated pop culture in the mid-70s with a series of thrilling, death-defying motorcycle stunts that grew more and more outrageous as the years went by. This being America and all, that naturally led to a remarkably successful line of Knievel toys that sold more than $125 million worth of units in just 6 years. And undeniably, the coolest of all the stunt-based toys was the Evel Knievel Stunt Cycle. Marketed as the 6-inch Daredevil, the stunt cycle could blast off jumps of up to several feet high, soar through the air, and much like the toy's namesake, surprisingly could land safely before speeding off into the sunset. The toy was so cool that people on the internet today still release videos of them doing tricks, certainly much safer than the life-size version. Weebles.
Set sail for Ono Hawaiian Barbecue and discover the thrill of the Ono Keiki meal with fresh, made-to-order food and quality ingredients that bring the flavors of the island to your family. Disney's Moana 2, now playing only in theaters. Rated PG.
Use Hydro Boost Water Cream, 9 times the hydration for replenished, dewy, glowy skin. Grab at your nearest store today.
Generations of kids have grown up with the song,
Weebles wobble but they don't fall down,
playing endlessly in their heads, a testament both to the power of advertising and the simple joy of that 70s classic, the Weeble. You know what I'm talking about. You might have one still. An egg-shaped toy painted to look like something cute, an animal or a small child, for example. And no matter how hard you try, it would miraculously roll back to an upright position. Just don't try this with a real small child. While deceptively simple, the science behind the Weeble was actually quite complicated. The overall shape must have constant positive curvature. From the central vertical axis, the shape must be nearly cylindrically symmetrical. And now that we're all asleep, however they worked, Weebles entertained countless toddlers who were convinced that this time the Weeble would fall down. Baby Alive doll. What's the best thing about having a newborn? Everybody knows it's having to feed it every couple of hours, followed shortly by having to change its poopy diapers. But old boring doll babies unfortunately don't poop. So while playing, kids are deprived of the joyous opportunity to wipe another human's butt. Fortunately, in 1973, toy company Kenner introduced the Baby Alive doll that eats, drinks, and yes, even messes in their diaper, designed to more closely simulate the challenges of infant care. The doll came with food packets that, when mixed with water and spooned into the doll's mouth, would travel through the doll and end up in the diaper. And this lifelike toy immediately exploded in popularity, at one point selling more than 1 million units a day. It's good to teach future parents that raising a kid is hard work, but it's definitely a toy made for people who have never actually changed a diaper, and it's one that they've not gone away from. It's been reinvented constantly. First in the 90s, then in the 2000s we got several new versions, like the Sip and Slurp doll, and Baby Alive Bouncing Babbles, a doll who bounces up and down operated by a small internal motor. And I'm totally sure this doll will not turn evil and come after you. Probably. Bounce, bounce. Micronauts. In 1976, a new action figure hit the shelves in America that would change the course of toys in the US for the next 40 years. These, of course, were the Micronauts, a series of 4-inch tall cyborg action figures that were famous for having a high number of articulation points. Fancy toy speak for places where the figure could move. compared to other toys at the time. But the truly remarkable thing about the Micronauts wasn't just their innovative design. It was the fact that they were an Americanized version of a toy already very popular in Japan. And this was just the beginning of an avalanche of imported Japanese toys that would come over and dominate the US marketplace. I mean, can you imagine the last 30 years of toys without Transformers or Pokemon? Well, it was the Micronauts, a super cool toy in their own right, who paved the way for the future Japanese toy behemoths to shine. Atari. Normally, when someone uses the term revolutionized, it's almost all hyperbole. No real revolution actually occurred. But to say that video game company Atari revolutionized toys in the 1970s is no exaggeration at all. The company basically invented the home video game system during the decade. In 1975, Atari released the first video game you could play at home, Pong. While it may not seem that groundbreaking today, when it was released, Pong blew people's minds. And for good reason. Suddenly, there was a video game that you and your family could enjoy on your own TV, when before it was only playable in massive arcades. I mean, whoa. Then in 1977, Atari upped the ante to a whole new level by releasing the Atari 2600, the first popular microprocessor-based gaming system. Now you can swap games in and out. It was the coolest toy around in the late 70s, the first true video game system, and led to today's billion-dollar video game industry. Game on. Nerf.
Hey, let's play ball!
In 1970, Parker Brothers released the first Nerf ball, and the world of toys changed forever. Marketed as the world's first official indoor ball, the 4-inch Nerf ball claimed you can throw it indoors. You can't damage lamps or break windows. You can't hurt babies or old people. And that claim was mostly true. Made of a springy foam, the Nerf ball would harmlessly bounce off almost anything, and kids instantly fell in love with it. Over 4 million were sold in its first year, and soon Parker Brothers released a basketball game called Nerfoop, and of course the Nerf football. Today, Nerf's most popular products are probably their wide range of foam dart guns, as Nerf continues to be a must-have for every kid in America. Stretch Armstrong. What's one of the biggest problems with action figures? There you are, playing your little heart out, having all the fun in the world, when suddenly, blam, the cheap plastic figure breaks, and fun time is over. Well, the geniuses at the Kenner Toy Company solved this problem when they released Stretch Armstrong in 1976. Stretch was a short, muscle-bound man in black wrestling trunks that stood about 15 inches high, and at first glance was unremarkable, but the figure was filled with a gel very similar to corn syrup, pretty sweet, that allowed it to be stretched to an incredible 5 feet before slowly shrinking back to its original shape. This allowed for hours of fun stretching the poor man to his breaking point between tree houses, tire swings, a dog's collar, you name it. And even if Stretch developed a small tear, do not fear. He could be fixed with simple plastic adhesive bandages that came with the toy. Perfect for the kid who liked to play hard. Mattel Electronic Football. In 1977, the Mattel Electronic Football game was released, a release that led to the next 30 years of handheld games. Everything from the Game Boy to Tamagotchis. While rudimentary by our own standards, the electronic football game was amazingly cool for kids in the 70s. Roughly calculator-shaped, the game used a system of LED lights to let you play a basic game of football. The brightest light was your quarterback, and you used buttons below the screen to avoid the defense, represented by dimmer lights. And this was pretty awesome. While it was technologically outpaced by systems like the Atari 2600, the Mattel Electronic Football was handheld, which meant 100% portable. You could take it on those long family road trips, boring school classes, and even tedious church services. Just hide it, making this game a must-have for all 70s kids. $6 Million Man Doll.
Gentlemen, we can rebuild him.
Some action figures come with so many accessories that it's almost overwhelming. Scores of helmets, weapons, and clothes that would almost instantly get lost made the toys less fun in the long run. But not the $6 million Man doll. Based on the hit Lee Majors 70s show, the $6 million Man action figure came with all the accessories already built in. He had his bionic eye that you could peer into through an eyepiece in the back of his head. And by twisting his head and pushing a button on the back, the $6 million Man could lift up to 2 pounds in his bionic arm. Honestly remarkable for a 10-inch high doll. Later editions of the toy featured bionic grip and a karate chopping arm, and kids continue to be unable to resist the allure of Steve Austin as the ultimate action figure. Plus, he wore that super cool red tracksuit. Hard to beat that. And these were the most popular, had-to-have toys of the 1970s. Now go play with your toys. So now we have to know, which of these monumental toys did you have? What was your favorite toy as a kid? Please get in those comments and let me know. I want to know everyone's favorites. And before you go, please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to our channel so you never miss a memory. From all of us here at Do You Remember, thank you very much for watching.
Skin this healthy only wears Pampers.
Be the house with the good snacks.
Christmas comes, but once a year. Now it's here, now it's here, bringing lots of joy and cheer. Tra-la-la-la-la. There is a Santa Claus. Christmas comes, but once a year. Now it's here, now it's here, bringing lots of joy and cheer. Tra-la-la-la-la. Oh! What's the matter in here, I wonder? Looks like
like a pretty gloomy Christmas for those poor kids. What can I do? Let me think. Huh? Huh? Ah! Oh, no. Hooray! I've got it!
As an Old Spice hair rescue worker, we're not just rescuing hair health and hairstyle. We're rescuing the man beneath the hair. It's a real rush.
Old Spice styling products promote healthier, fuller, and more moisturized-looking hair, all while helping you consistently achieve the perfect look. That's because they're blended with the perfect mix of ingredients for men's hair, and they're available in low, medium, and high holds with matte and low shine finishes. Old Spice styling products leave no residue and wash off your hands easily.
Every day is different, but luckily, we've got the best tools out there.
Hey, my eyes are down here.
Men have hair too. Rescue it with Old Spice styling products.
Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
Merry Christmas, everybody! They'll never recognize this stairway.
And Merry Christmas, everyone, boys and girls and grown-ups. I'm Tom Shirley with a friendly welcome from your telephone company. First, we have for you that familiar old story, 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, with old Santa himself. And then we have the greatest story ever told, the Nativity, the story of the first Christmas in Bethlehem nearly 2,000 years ago. But before we begin, here's a friend of yours.
Thank you. Here's your party, Mr.
Back with us to old New York, in the year 1822, to the home of Professor Clement Clark Moore, the man who wrote 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, that wonderful story of Saint Nick.
All the stories about Christmas. So wonderful, aren't they?
The one I like best is about mistletoe.
You know, I'd like to see St. Nicholas.
St. Nicholas.
Santa Claus. Just as he used to call on Christmas Eve to visit the Dutch settlers and leave toys for the good children.
Darling, you are old-fashioned. This is 1822. We aren't settlers any longer. Besides, no one has ever seen St. Nicholas. You don't even know what he looks like.
But you're wrong, Kitty, I do. He looks just like Hans Jaeger. Old Hans Jaeger who drives our sleigh. All blue-eyed and red-cheeked behind white whiskers. Fat and jolly, too. Just as Hans Jaeger is. I'd recognize Santa any day.
Well, you old silly. You'd leave the doors open and the shutters unbarred for any stranger to walk in who might fancy he's a Christmas saint.
Well, he could come down the chimney. Never mind my nonsense, Kitty. Here's something from Santa, straight from Paris.
Oh, Clement.
And they tell me they're meant to show just a little.
Oh, I'll believe anything now. There. That's for St. Nick. Perhaps he'll fill it tonight. Good night, Clement. Don't be too late. The children will be up at dawn.
It was the night before Christmas. Was the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring. Not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. Children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads.
And Mamma in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap, when out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from the bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave a luster of midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer, with a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be Saint Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen. On Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall. Now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricanes fly when they meet with an obstacle mount to the sky, so up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys and St. Nicholas too. And then, in a twinkling, I heard on the roof prancing and pawing each little hoof. As I drew in my head, it was turning around. Down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in red from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard of his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke, it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a round little belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work and filled all the stockings. When he'd filled all the stockings, he turned with a jerk, and laying a finger aside of his nose and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But we heard him exclaim ere he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night." And that's how the story of The Night Before Christmas was written. In just a moment, you're going to see the greatest story of all, the Nativity, the story of the birth of the Christ child nearly 2,000 years ago. Now, for the greatest story of all, the Nativity. Now, the birth of Jesus Christ was on this wise. In the beginning, the voice of an angel spake unto Mary, saying, "Fear not, Mary, for thou hast found favor with God. And behold, thou shalt conceive in thy womb, and bring forth a son, and shalt name him Jesus. He shall be great, and shall be called the Son of the Highest. And the Lord God shall give unto him the throne of his father David, and he shall reign over the house of Jacob forever, and of his kingdom there shall be no end." Yet there were other voices in the land. And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed, and further that all men should go to be taxed, every one into the city of his birth. And as the Roman soldiers proclaimed the law, the people of Nazareth listened with heavy hearts. For like Mary and her husband Joseph, there were many among them whose native cities were far distant. Indeed, the payment of this tax would be a burden to them all. Even the children stopped their play, and the elders watched in silent resentment as the soldiers withdrew. And then the people began to speak among themselves, "Will Caesar pay our losses, or the cost of our journey?" And the rabbis prayed, "God, deliver us from our enemies." Even so Joseph, the gentle carpenter of Nazareth, spoke to Mary, telling her, "It is the will of Caesar. Therefore let us prepare, and tomorrow begin our journey to Bethlehem." So it was that Joseph also went up from Galilee out of the city of Nazareth into Judea unto the distant city of David, which is called Bethlehem. And with him went Mary, his espoused wife, being great with child. For many days they journeyed. The road was long and steep, and Mary became weary as they drew near to Bethlehem. But Joseph comforted her. And though she longed for the journey's end, she had no fear, for she remembered well the words which God had made known unto her. refreshed, they hastened on. But night had fallen when at last they came to Bethlehem. Already the city was asleep, and the inn was closed. Yet a light in the window above them gave Joseph hope that they might still find shelter. Aroused from his slumber, the innkeeper was angry. "Why do you disturb honest people at this hour?" And Joseph replied, "We seek shelter, for we have traveled far, and my wife is weary." But the innkeeper cried down to them, "There is no room here. Be gone." In desperation, Joseph knocked again. And the beggar grumbled, "Go away. Leave me my corner in peace." But Joseph explained, "My wife is with child." And the heart of the beggar was touched. "There is a stable back of the inn. Cannot the manger be a crib for him who is to be born?" And so it came about that Mary was to bring forth her firstborn son and lay him in a manger, because there was no room for them at the inn. The stable was dark and barren, but within its sheltering walls, Mary and Joseph found refuge from the wind and the cold. And the sweet-smelling hay promised warmth and comfort after the long journey. Joseph spoke tenderly to Mary, lest she know the anxiety in his heart. And as he left to tether the animal, he bade her lie down to rest. And thus, while Joseph kept his vigil, the days were accomplished that she should be delivered. And there were in the same country shepherds abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. And lo, the angel of the Lord came upon them, and the glory of the Lord shone round about them, and they were sore afraid. And the angel said, "Fear not, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy. For unto you is born this day in Bethlehem a Savior, who is Jesus Christ. And ye shall find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger." And suddenly there was a heavenly host singing, Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men. And behold, there were also 3 wise men who traveled from the east, and they were puzzled by a star they did not know, a star which shone brighter than any other. And one of them, who had studied the heavens, said to the others, "Verily, this can only be the star of the Messiah, King of the Jews." Knowing this, the wise men hastened to Jerusalem and came before King Herod, saying, "Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east." And when he heard these things, the wily Herod was troubled and said, "He is not here." But Herod was curious and called on the chief priests and scribes of the people, demanding to know where Christ should be born. Some had forgotten the prophecies, but one remembered and said unto him, "He shall be born in Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it is written by the prophets." Concealing his thoughts, Herod spoke again with the wise men and commanded that they go to Bethlehem, saying, "Search diligently for the young child, and when ye have found him, bring me word again, that I may come and worship him also." And having paid homage to Herod the king, the wise men took their leave. And lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them. And as they made their way, they received a warning from God not to return to Herod. Ever following the heavenly star, they went forward until it stood over where the young child was, and they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. For now, when they were come into the stable, they saw the child Jesus with Mary, his mother. And they fell down and worshipped him. And opening their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. The shepherds, too, led by the voice of the angel, looked on in silent wonder. And about them in the manger, and above them in the heavens that covered the earth, a host of angels sang, "Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill to men." We hope you've enjoyed our 2 Christmas stories as much as we've enjoyed presenting them to you. And now, all of us at your telephone company wish you a very Merry Christmas.
And a Happy New Year.
then, in a twinkling, I heard on the roof, prancing and pawing each little hoof. As I drew in my head, it was turning around. Down the chimney St. Nicholas came. With a bound. He was dressed all in red from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard of his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke, it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a round little belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf. And I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work and filled all the stock.